The narrator, a 20-year-old who had been heavily addicted to online gaming for years, found himself in a familiar bind one afternoon. His own laptop had recently given out, its screen flickering and refusing to turn on, leaving him without his usual gaming sanctuary. Desperate to pass the time, he borrowed his older brother's laptop, knowing full well that his brother wouldn't approve. But at that moment, the rules didn't matter. Gaming was more important. For weeks, he'd been stuck in a loop, jumping from one game to the next, looking for that next fix of excitement. It wasn't just any game that hooked him, but the thrill of victory, the escape from reality, and the sense of power that came with completing missions or beating high scores. His obsession often led him to shady websites, places that promised access to exclusive games or underground gaming forums. Despite the warnings about viruses and malware, he was reckless and naive. After all, what were a few pop-up ads compared to the chance of discovering something new? His heart skipped a beat, not because he was scared, but because his curiosity was piqued. What kind of game was this? It didn't look like anything he'd seen before. The pop-up appeared out of nowhere, a little window that seemed to materialize from the depths of the internet, promising something dark, something more than just a typical game. The words on the screen seemed to pulse, almost as if they were alive. The narrator paused for a moment, unsure of what he was seeing. He had been to countless sketchy websites before, some of them riddled with bugs and full of intrusive ads. But this one felt different. It was as if the page itself had a personality, a force that was drawing him in, coaxing him to click. But despite the creeping discomfort, a twisted part of him found it fascinating. With a deep breath, he clicked the button. The screen went black for a second before flashing to life with a blood-red message that nearly made him recoil. "Hello? Do you want to watch someone die?" Click the submit button to continue. The text was written in a sinister, dripping font, each letter oozing as though painted in fresh blood. It was grotesque, disturbing, yet oddly compelling. He stared at the screen, a chill running down his spine. Part of him wanted to shut the laptop and walk away, but another part of him, one he couldn't quite control, felt an irresistible pull. What was this? He thought. What kind of game was this? The more he looked at it, the more he felt as though the website was alive, like it was staring back at him. The blinking submit button on the screen seemed to taunt him, urging him to click. It wasn't just a game anymore. It was a question, a challenge, something that forced him to confront his own fear. Could he really watch someone die? But he had always been the kind of person who enjoyed dark thrillers, who laughed at horror movies, who reveled in the adrenaline rush of the unknown. He considered himself tough, not easily frightened. Maybe it was the idea of testing his own boundaries, or maybe it was simply the human curiosity about death and danger that led him to click the button. As he did, the screen flashed again, this time showing a chilling countdown. 10, 9, 8. The seconds seemed to stretch out in front of him, each tick of the clock amplifying the anxiety building inside him. The cursor hovered over the screen like a heavy weight. He half expected someone to jump out from the screen and scare him, like some twisted prank. But no. The countdown continued, each number clicking down with an eerie precision. Was this real? He thought about all the horror stories he'd heard about the dark web, about people stumbling across sites that were best left undisturbed, where the rules of the internet didn't apply, and the consequences were far more serious than a simple virus or pop-up ad. There had been rumors of people paying for access to these games, where the stakes were more than virtual rewards. They were life and death. By the time the countdown reached 0, the screen flashed a final message. Game over. Watch the next victim. The narrator's blood ran cold. Was this a prank, or was something far darker about to unfold? As the image on the screen began to change, he realized that he had crossed a line, one that he couldn't come back from. And though he felt an overwhelming sense of dread, part of him still wondered what was going to happen next. As the image began to appear on the screen, the light from the laptop fell on the narrator's face, creating a gloomy atmosphere in the room. The screen showed a dark, empty room with only a wooden chair in the middle, the light from a single bulb hanging above it. Everything looked as if it was being recorded live. A few seconds passed in silence, and then a woman appeared, tied to the chair. She was trembling, her eyes filled with tears, as if she knew what fate awaited her. A voice suddenly rang out from the laptop. The voice was distorted, as if it had been edited through a voice changer, but it was authoritative and cold. "Welcome to the death game. You are today's audience. She will live or die. The choice is yours." Two buttons appeared on the screen: save and kill. Both buttons flashed, making the narrator feel as if they were mocking him. His heart pounded, cold sweat ran down his spine. This couldn't be real, he told himself, but everything seemed too real. The woman was screaming through the screen, her screams piercing his mind. He tried to turn off the laptop, but the mouse cursor didn't move. A red line appeared. "You cannot leave before deciding." The pressure became unbearable. He didn't know what to do. If he pressed save, would he really save her? If he pressed kill, what would happen? Each choice led to a terrifying dead end. He accidentally pressed the kill button. The screen changed immediately. A figure, dressed in black from head to toe, appeared behind the woman. In his hand was a long, sharp knife that gleamed like cold steel under the light. The narrator had no time to react. He could only sit still as he watched the knife plunge deep into the woman's chest. Her final scream echoed in his quiet room before the screen went black. He sat frozen in his chair, his whole body shaking. What had he just done? It couldn't be real. Could it? But the images, the sounds, everything was too vivid to be a mere game. A few minutes later, the screen lit up again, this time with a message. "Congratulations, you've cleared the first level. The next level will be much harder. We'll be in touch soon." The laptop shut down automatically, but the nightmare wasn't over. A knock came from the door, loud and decisive. He turned his head to look at the door, feeling as if his heart had stopped. Who could be coming at this hour? He walked slowly toward the door, his hand shaking as he turned the knob. But when the door opened, there was no one there. There was only a small box sitting on the porch. The box was black with a note on the lid: "Welcome to the next level." The door behind him suddenly slammed shut, and a familiar voice, the distorted voice from the game, resounded through the air. "Now the real game begins." The lights in the house went out. A sinister laugh echoed from the dark corner, and that was the last moment he felt safe in his own home.